presenting the very glamorous singing star,
Billy West.
Greetings, listeners. What follows are two separate short interviews from different websites that have been combined into one video. Interview by Kyle Ryan. Originally posted at IO9.com on 14th of June, 2005. Billy West comes from the old school of voiceover acting. He predates the celebrity voiceover focus that began dominating animated films in the 1990s. That trend has made it difficult for West and others like him to get work in big films, in spite of his lengthy history in the business. Although he worked elsewhere, on The Howard Stern Show, for instance, West really found fame as the voices of Ren and Stimpy on The Ren and Stimpy Show. By the time it ended in 1996, West had become a sought-after voiceover actor, doing Bugs Bunny and Elmer Fudd in the 1996 film Space Jam, and appearing on King of the Hill, as well as a wide assortment of children's cartoons. In 1999, he became the voice of Philip Fry, plus Dr. Zoidberg, Professor Farnsworth, and several other characters, on Matt Groening's animated show Futurama, which toiled on Fox for 4 years before getting cancelled in 2003. But like Family Guy, Futurama may not be completely dead. Recently, West talked with the AV Club about the show's future, the scourge of celebrity voiceovers, and his vocal immortality. The Onion: at what point did you realize Futurama wasn't going to make it? Billy West: when they'd say, 7 o'clock, Futurama. At 8 o'clock, The Simpsons. At 8:30, Malcolm in the Middle. Remember, it all begins at 8 on Fox. Laughs, that's about the size of it. Matt had total autonomy, pretty much. They let him do what he wanted to do, and the show was becoming a success. People were finding it, and Fox kept trying to hide it because they couldn't have control over it. How are you going to explain to the media world? It's a success, obviously. Because we had nothing to do with it. We didn't put our seal of death on it. Oh, couldn't they have said they were simply repeating the Simpsons formula? Letting Groening doing his thing? BW, no, not really, because people are pains in the ass. You know, if you created a show, and it became a huge cultural phenomenon, you could have an idea for another show, and everybody would be lining up to lick your ass. Then, when you tell them what you want to do. Okay, here's my idea. I want to do a show about people in space, you know, like in the year 3000. But they're not space, they're on Earth, and it's a delivery boy who winds up cryogenically frozen in the future. And people just look at you with that face of no brakes and a smile, going, but we want another Simpsons. You can't have another Simpsons, there already is a Simpsons. Oh, do you think Futurama failed mostly because of where it was in the schedule? BW, yeah, and it wasn't pre-mode. You have to do those things. If you're a network or the powers that be, you can decide what makes it and what doesn't. The Futurama episodes weren't released. They escaped. Oh, there had always been rumors that executives at Fox didn't like Groening, so they were burying Futurama. BW, I wasn't in the room when these things went on. But there was some kind of trouble going on. Now they're talking about doing a Futurama movie to DVD, and then a second and a third, so there's life after death. Oh, obviously, Family Guy's post-mortem success made them look stupid, because they cancelled the show twice before reviving it again. BW, they never realized when they put out those DVDs of the shows that people were going to go nuts over them, so it was about face. A bunch of people chasing around to get to the very spot where lightning just struck. Fox was really pleased with the snails of the Futurama DVDs. They're really happy with it, so they're talking about a budget for it. Yeah, and I'm thrilled to death. I'd rather be doing it than not doing it. That was my favorite show. I loved that show. Oh, you have said that Fry on Futurama and Stimpy on Ren and Stimpy were your favorite trolls. They were the most high-profile. But what else about Futurama makes it special? BW, it had more layers than an onion. These writers meant business. There was a level for everybody. Your major could be celestial mechanics, and there'd be celestial mechanics jokes. Oh, since Space Jam, you've done a lot of work with Looney Tunes. Do you still feel the weight of the characters' legacies? Or have you been able to focus on it just as a job? BW, I wish what they would do with these characters was something that would put some real weight on me to rise to the challenge. Every time they try to revive the Looney Tunes characters, they always say, "This time it's going to be different. We're putting the teeth back in those characters. Nobody's gonna tell us what we can write and what we can't write." And they always fucking blow it. It's like they got their chance, and boom, Looney Tunes. Back in action. Oh, so you don't feel pressure? BW, no, not really. I mean, they farm out that work. There's, like, 2 or 3 guys that do most of it. I never made my life about that. In other words, I didn't base my identity on that stuff, because it's not really yours. You're a day player, that thing is only yours while you're talking it. When you leave, that's it. A lot of guys make the mistake of wanting to be identified with those characters, and it's a heartbreak when they just move on and get someone else for the job. I've always said that you can't be the new Mel Blanc by doing Mel Blanc's voice. You're going to be the new Mel Blanc by doing original voices and varying them up and giving them all kinds of life and identity and history and all the other things it takes to round out a real solid character. Oh, the Looney Tunes characters were created in a completely different world. Now it almost seems like most of their legacy is in merchandising. How can they be relevant now? BW, I don't know. It's like, the images sell. People just see the image, and it's automatic. It's like, for all the years that have passed, every generation of kids is a customer farm, you know what I mean? Laughs. Oh, you've said you have to bring a little bit of yourself to voiceover acting, but without letting people know who you are. BW, no, just a little bit of your own sensibility, so that somehow, somebody can identify with it if it appears too abstract for them. Oh, but that's the complete antithesis to how animation is now. Celebrities are the characters. They're expected to put themselves in the role. Even before CGI movies, you had Robin Williams in Aladdin. BW, Robin Williams understands sonic performances. He understands what it's like to change your voice up. He understands what it's like to have theater of the mind, and with your little strip of vocal cords, you're going to create heavens and hells and universes and populations of people, which is the whole idea that a voice person has in their head. It's like, whatever it is, I'll be it. But the voice people can physically escape the sound of their own voice. We do multiple voices. We used to save producers' asses, because they'd hire you and say, well, we were going to get 6 people, but we can't afford it. Can you do this, and this? And you'd do them, and they'd be perfectly happy, and they'd save a bundle of dough. Now, it's the exact opposite. The minute they mention a CGI film, they're already looking to see what Renee Zellweger is doing. They're already looking to see what Billy Crystal is doing. This doesn't make sense, to do what they do, spend zillions on visuals, and then have this totally fucking flatlining voice track. You know? Hey, I'm Will Smith. I'm a clown. I'm Will Smith. I'm a kangaroo. All you bring to the performance is your own ego. They're just being themselves. Let's put it this way. Cameron Diaz is the highest paid voice actress in history, $20 million for Shrek. Why? Because she has a 9-foot mouth? That works somewhere else, but not on tape. Laughs. It's like, what the hell is that all about? Oh, so are you totally out of the loop on big budget films? BW, well, we still audition for them if they call us, but we know it's a joke. What's really insidious is, they love to have the A-team come in and read for them and create characters for them and read their copy, and then you never hear from them again. Then you see the person who has the job saying things that came direct from your own ideology, like if I'm ad-libbing, and I use a word from the Midwest because I grew up in Detroit. You know, it's like, what the fuck? What am I, a copywriter now? How come I don't get residual checks? They take your riffs, they take your little noises that you do, and they go tell this schlub celebrity, this is what we want, this is what we're looking for. Hear what he's doing? And then that guy's got us wet bullets trying to sparkle some life into his bland voice. I hope I'm not coming off cocky or bitter about the swing in the business. I'll hang in, but I'm going to change my hat. I have to be a producer now. Oh, could you ever foresee a swing back in the other direction, with voiceover people taking over? BW, I don't know. I can almost see it, but there's something else on a higher level going on. Like I'm thinking they're only trying to save money. Every production guy in my life, every company that was going to do something, there's never any money. I'm thinking to myself, why would they pay 4 stars over $20 million apiece to do voices in a movie? I mean, they'd save a fortune if they used voice people, and the magic would be back in those characters. Oh, but they obviously think they'll make way more money because the celebrities will draw people. BW, it's well. We can use those stars on their bankable star power to promote the cartoon and do Access Hollywood interviews. You know, it's like they treat us like we're not actors. I went to the premiere of Space Jam at Grauman's Chinese Theater, big premiere, red carpet, everything. Me and the voice people got invited to the little theater. There's 2 of them there, the big Chinese theater, and then there was a smaller one next to it. We weren't invited to the big place, and so my friend Bob Bergen, who does Porky Pig an awful lot, called them up and said, "Hey, what gives? We're featured in this movie." She said, "Oh, you mean the party at the big Chinese theater? Oh, that's for the actors." I'd like to find out what little cement head said that. Oh, what did Bergen say? Subscribe to our newsletter. Show your inbox you have great taste in news media by subscribing to the AV Club's newsletter. Type your email, sign me up by subscribing. You agree to our terms of use and privacy policy. BW, he kicked and screamed about it. We had to settle for the little theater. But the other theater was filled with the regular pile of gloms, you know, celebrities that you see everywhere. They gotta be the first to see something, even if it's before me. It's not just for the actors. You can't fill a theater with actors that were in Space Jam. You know, it's for the Hollywood cognoscenti, and stardom is the only thing that means anything. We deify these people like they can do special, extraordinary things, and they can't. But their voices are not immortal, and they never will be. I don't care what anybody says. I'll outlast everybody. I'll be around until 120. And I'll prove it. Laughs. Those voices won't stick in anybody's craw. IGN interviews Billy West. Originally posted at IGN.com, on 22nd of September, 2005. We talk one-on-one with the voice actor about his work on Futurama, Ren and Stimpy, and more. Ken P. By Ken P. Updated, May 19, 2012, 7:55 a.m. Posted, September 22, 2005, 10:03 p.m. L. Blank was known as the man of 1,000 voices, but give Billy West a few more years and he might give the legend a run for his money. As Stimpy on the original Ren and Stimpy, and later Ren as well, Bugs Bunny and Elmer Fudd in Space Jam, reprising Fudd for Back in Action, and a host of characters on Futurama, Fry, Dr. Zoidberg, Professor Farnsworth, and Zap Brannigan, to name a few. West is the very definition of a voice artist, able to manipulate his vocal cords like a maestro. How's that for an image? He's also working on an edgy semi-autobiographical pilot titled Billy Bastard, Amateur Human Being. You can find out more on his website, www.billywest.com. Sure to please fans, Foxhome Entertainment is releasing a selection of fan-favorite episodes in the form of the Futurama Monster Robot Maniac Fun Collection. IGN Film First. What role did you initially go into audition for on Futurama? Billy West. I was called in for all of the characters. And I was in a room with probably 100 people, and I'm sure 200 more were around before or after, because everybody wanted to be part of this. I was almost going to have a heart attack. I walk in, and there's Ryan Stiles, ready to read for it. I'm like going, oh, Jesus. Wrong room. Ryan Stiles. From whose line is it anyway? was actually in the audition process? West: yeah. It scared me, because the guy is just so formidable, talent-wise, and I just thought, gee whiz. I better be on my toes now. When you read for those characters, which ones did you automatically feel didn't click? West: I read for Fry originally, but I didn't get it. My friend Charlie Schlatter got it, and also, my friend from Mad TV, Nicole Sullivan, was Leela. It was just this weird turn of events where they weren't going to use them, and they got Katie Sagal to do Leela. I read for Bender. Farnsworth: I didn't read for Zap Brannigan early on. Because that role was still going to be Phil Hartman at that point, right? West: I think so. I'm trying to think of the order of things. We started recording the show and then we took a break, and then they asked me to come in and use my voice, pretty much, and read for Fry. I did it, and they said, well, that's what we wanna do. So, what roles were you initially cast in? West: my agent called me and said, I have good news for you. You're going to be Dr. Zoidberg and Professor Hubert Farnsworth. And I said, oh? That's wonderful. I didn't get Bender, even though I read for it. But Johnny DiMaggio, the voice of Bender, and the perfect take on it. And at that point, getting cast as two lead characters in the new show from Simpsons creator Matt Groening was not a bad thing to have happen to you. West: no, I was thrilled out of my mind. Because I came in and I shook hands with him. And I said, it's really nice to meet you. He says, I'm a big fan. And I go, and I sort of know who you are, too. Then you got Fry on top of that. West: after the break, we were getting calls to come in and read for it, and then we started recording episodes and I was doing Fry, Zoidberg, and Professor Farnsworth. As the show progressed, they introduced the character Zap Brannigan, which was written for Phil Hartman, and people said, you're doing Phil Hartman. But I'll tell you something. I knew him, and I talked to him, and we shared this love of big, dumb announcers. Those big guys who carry their balls in a wheelbarrow, from the old days. The kind of bombastic I love the sound of my own voice guy from news radio, or the Troy McClure kind of character. And when I did it, I was doing the big, dumb announcers that I had always done. As a matter of fact, I was imitating, partially, a guy who's not even on radio anymore. I don't want to talk about him. But he got flung out for something. Something bad. But this guy hung on to his word saw it. He just wouldn't give birth to them. I guess they were that important, you know? And he would always find a way to make a 6-syllable word out of one. It is daunting to go into a project knowing you have the weight of 4 major characters on your shoulders. West: yeah. It was really strange and I couldn't believe it, but I was so exuberant, I was so shot out of a cannon, like I usually am when it comes to work. I was thrilled to death, and I couldn't wait to go in and record it. A chance to do original stuff? Come on. How did Futurama compare to your previous experiences on shows like Doug and Ren and Stimpy? West: Doug was a sweet little cartoon from Nickelodeon, and I got that first, I think, and they told me they wanted me to try out for another program in their animation block. There was 3 of them, Doug, Ren and Stimpy, and Rugrats. I had gotten a call, right around the same time I was talking to the Doug people, from John K. John Kricfalusi, creator of Ren and Stimpy, who remembered me doing Larry Fine voices when we were doing Benny and Cecil in 1988. He said, I want you to read for this character. I read it. And I was doing it like Larry, and just realized it would be a whole lot better if I just amped it up a couple of times. I also was given a tape in the beginning, to listen to, and it was different spices of life from Peter Lorre movies, different moods, Burl Ives' Big Daddy, Kirk Douglas. Stuff from The Champion. And I have that tape to this day, which John gave me and said, listen to this stuff, because he wanted me to do both voices. Then he started to get something going with Nickelodeon, and he had a meeting with MTV that he dragged me along to, and we recorded the demo as both voices in a closet down the hall from Kurt Loder's office. There was no studio available, and it was kind of covert. There's something really cool about being covert, in a closet. and then going in to see the big guys. He went in there, and then he came out and said, "What you did just sold the show?" And I said, "Well, great." Then I didn't hear anything. My agent heard from Nickelodeon, and they wanted me to do Stimpy, and under their auspices I was recording lines for the show at a studio in New York, because I hadn't moved to California yet. They finally got it to where they liked it, and I did it. You never know what you're doing at the time you do it. All I know is that I thought it was unbelievably cool. It was so strange and off-center and progressive and retro-y. It was like everything in one. In retrospect, how does it feel to be part of these shows that have become true classics? West. It feels great, but after all these years, I've come to discover that it's not about how great it was. It was about the experience personally, on a human level. How would you sum up your experience on Futurama? West. I thought the whole experience, from top to bottom, was totally professional and really cool. I never had anybody bugging me for anything, no directors standing on my throat while they're directing me. That kind of abuse came with Ren and Stimpy. Just being battered, and where other actors were beaten down. Just emotional wrecks, where they had to come in with a tow truck and pick up the bodies and get them out of there. That's what I was told by Nickelodeon. They were saying, "You've got to watch out, this guy wears actors out." And I said, "Bring it on." I had the worst things that can happen to a human being happen in the first 10 years of my life happen to me, so I was tailor-made for abuse. But I didn't know how long I would last with all this screaming and yelling, but not just screaming and yelling, it was particular screaming and yelling. And Futurama was the complete opposite of that? West. Yeah, it was the total opposite of that. There's no need for torture. There really isn't. I mean, I like the idea that he was pushing me, to drive me to other places, but constant repetition of screaming. As I look back, I could have blown my voice out, for real. I couldn't talk after a few sessions. But I learned how to do it, and I discovered a new place in my throat where I could do it effortlessly and sound like I was on fire. So, in some ways, it was a worthy learning experience. West. Yeah. Everything's a learning experience, whether you're learning bad things or good ones. If you were to look at the 4 Futurama episodes they choose to include on the Monster Robot Maniac Fun Collection, Hell is Other Robots, Anthology of Interest I, Roswell That Ends Well, and The Sting, which would you say is your personal favorite? West. Those are all great, I love every one of them. There's not an episode I don't like. I think some were better than others. But I do like Roswell That Ends Well, because it has some great interaction with one of Fry's relatives from the 50s, who got married to a girl who eventually had Fry's father, or something like that. Very Back to the Future. I like that one the best. Time runs amok, and I love time travel and people that play with time. It's so cool. And what about the rumors of new Futurama adventures on the horizon? West. Well, they're more than rumors. I was talked to. The first bulletin that I got is that they were in talks with Fox because Fox was very happy with the way the DVDs were selling. Executive producer, David Cohen told me they were in talks with Fox and that things were looking great, and that their idea was to make a Futurama movie to DVD, and then maybe release a second one. Then I heard that it was decided to do that. And you're ready and raring to go? West. I'm ready and raring to go, because I love that show more than anything. I thought it was just far and away above anything I had ever done.